The Whispering Rain. It began with a storm. Not just any storm, but one that seemed to stretch on for days, weeks, perhaps even years. The rain fell in endless sheets, drowning the world in a cold, gray haze. The trees swayed heavily under the weight of the water, their branches creaking like old bones. The sky was a canvas of dark, rolling clouds, and the air was thick with the scent of wet earth and decay. And in the heart of this storm stood a house, an old, crumbling structure nestled deep within the woods. Its roof sagged under the relentless rain, and its windows were dark, like empty eyes staring out into the void. The house had been abandoned for years, or so the locals claimed. But to Evelyn, it was a sanctuary. She had left the city behind, seeking solitude, peace, and perhaps a fresh start. The house had been cheap, too cheap, but she hadn't questioned it. Not then. As she stepped inside, the air was heavy with the scent of damp wood and decay. The floorboards creaked beneath her feet, each step echoing through the empty halls. The walls were lined with peeling wallpaper, and the furniture was covered in dusty sheets, like ghosts frozen in time. She wandered through the rooms, her footsteps slow and deliberate. The kitchen was a relic of the past, with an old iron stove and a sink stained with rust. The living room was dominated by a large, stone fireplace, its hearth cold and empty. And then there was the attic, a place she had yet to explore. That first night, Evelyn tried to settle in. She lit a fire in the hearth, though the wood was damp and reluctant to burn. The flames sputtered and hissed, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. And as she sat there, wrapped in a blanket, she heard it for the first time. A whisper. It was faint, almost imperceptible, like the rustle of leaves in the wind. But it was there. And it was calling her name. Evelyn. She froze, her breath catching in her throat. The voice was soft, almost soothing, but it sent a chill down her spine. She told herself it was just the wind, the rain playing tricks on her ears. But deep down, she knew it was something more. Days turned into nights, and the whispers grew louder. They came at odd hours, when she was cooking, when she was reading, even when she was trying to sleep. Always her name. Evelyn. Evelyn. At first, she tried to ignore them. But the more she tried, the more insistent they became. They were no longer just whispers, they were voices, multiple voices, overlapping, pleading, demanding. One night, unable to sleep, she decided to confront them. She followed the sound to the attic, a place she had avoided since moving in. The stairs groaned under her weight, and the air grew colder with each step. And there, in the dim light of her flickering lantern, she saw it. A box. Old, weathered, and covered in dust. The whispers seemed to emanate from within. With trembling hands, she opened it. Inside were photographs, letters, and a diary. The photographs showed a family, a man, a woman, and a little girl. They were smiling, but their eyes were hollow, filled with a sadness that made Evelyn's heart ache. The diary belonged to the woman. Her name was Margaret, and she had lived in this house decades ago. As Evelyn read, she learned the truth. The family had been plagued by the same whispers, the same voices. They had tried to leave, but the storm had trapped them. And one by one, they had disappeared. Evelyn tried to leave. She packed her bags, got into her car, and drove down the muddy road. But no matter how far she went, the road always led her back to the house. The storm was relentless, the whispers deafening. Evelyn, stay with us. Desperate, she returned to the attic. She burned the photographs, the letters, the diary. But it was no use. The voices were inside her now, a part of her. That night, as the storm raged on, she stood at the window, staring out into the darkness. The rain blurred her vision, but she could see them, shapes, figures, moving in the shadows. They were waiting for her. And then, she heard it. Not a whisper, but a voice, clear, unmistakable. Join us. The next morning, the storm had passed. The house stood silent, empty. And somewhere, in the attic, a new photograph lay among the ashes. It showed Evelyn, her eyes hollow, her smile forced. And if you listen closely, on quiet, rainy nights, you might still hear her voice, whispering in the storm. Remember, in the world of endless shadows, every reflection holds a trap, every book tells a truth, every train leads to darkness, and every echo marks a fate. Sleep well, if you dare. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more chilling stories.